Greetings everyone and welcome to this edition of the Primetime Newscast, the English language on Canal to International. We'll begin with our top stories. Dozens of shops were razed to ashes by wild flames that Gulf Wholesale and Boppy Market in Douala. The origin of the weekend fire has not been established, but is suspected to be connected to electricity circuits. And a strong campaign to fight against illegal migration, human trafficking and smuggling has been launched at the Yaoundé Simalek International Airport this Monday to caution youths leaving this country at all costs. The sensitization campaign taken to one of the major exit points of the country is championed by the Ministry of Social Affairs and International Organization for Migration. And as Senegal gears up for its imminent presidential elections, a vibrant tapestry of candidates has emerged, each offering a distinct narrative and vision for nation's future. Those are major stories. Details right ahead. Good evening once more and welcome to this edition of the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal de International. In the early hours of March 18, a 2024 tragedy, a stroke on the old bridge spanning the Wari River in Douala, Cameroon, resulting in the loss of one life and several injuries to another individual. The incident involved a collision between a motorcycle and a private car, leaving devastation in its wake. More in the following story.
Parts of the bike carrying the two victims strayed across the old bridge over the River Vure on the morning of Monday, March 18, 2024. According to eyewitnesses, the motorcycle and the private vehicle involved in the accident were initially driving within their respective lanes. However, the situation took a fatal turn when the driver of the private vehicle, allegedly distracted by a phone call, attempted to overtake at high speed. This reckless maneuver led to a catastrophic collision with the oncoming motorcycle, whose rider, overwhelmed by the sudden danger, lost control and skidded into the railway. Both the rider and his passenger, a young lady, crashed onto the road surface. Tragically, the bike rider succumbed to his injuries at the scene, while the young lady lost consciousness and was promptly rushed to the hospital for urgent medical attention. I was heading to Bonaberi when I saw the accident. Both vehicles were in their lanes. It's unclear how they collided, but it was violent. The bike rider's forehead was shattered. We arrived after the accident. We were told the bike rider and the car were in their lanes until the speeding driver on the phone tried to overtake. This led to the fatal collision. The bike rider died instantly, while the female passenger was rushed to hospital. Efforts to identify the deceased motorcycle rider were hindered by the absence of proper documentation. However, fellow members of the biking community rallied together to assist, ultimately retrieving a sum of 20,000 francs CFA from the victim's pocket, which was handed over to the vice president of their syndicate. The aftermath of the accident caused significant disruption to traffic flow on the old bridge, with law enforcement officials spending over an hour at the scene conducting investigations. The bike rider's remains were taken to the Bois de Saint cemetery for burial in accordance with the Muslim tradition.
And in a shocking turn of events of vibrant, a young man was brutally stabbed to death in a drinking spot at Bepe City neighborhood here in Cameroon's economic hub, Douala. The unfortunate scene happens on Saturday, March 4 at about 4 a.m. The victim, who is a bartender, was stabbed 3 times by a shawarma vendor. More with our student journalist on internship, Kizikiga.
As narrated by some eyewitnesses who elected anonymity, the scuffle. As narrated by some eyewitnesses who elected anonymity, the scuffle between the bartender by name David Ngasa and the shawarma vendor sprang from a misunderstanding on where the meat vendor should sit and drink his beer.
Il y a eu des disputes entre les deux.
There was an argument between the two, the bartender and the shawarma seller, which later ended in the assassination of the other. The fight started. People tried to calm the victim down to no avail. When everyone thought the argument was over, the man removed the knife and stabbed the victim twice.
Il y a eu mort d'homme.
Serge Changma is the uncle to the deceased.
La nuit du samedi matin,
in the early hours of Saturday morning, a man came and knocked at my door to tell me that my nephew was stabbed, that his body is lying in front of his workplace. We all rushed to see the cops. Before we reached there, the bar owners had carried the cops to bring at the mortuary. I entered the car to confirm if my nephew had really died.
j'ai trouvé mon neveu couché déjà mort.
The spokesperson of the snack and the rest of the staff are remorseful and called on the population to collaborate with them to hunt for the shawarma vendor who is at large.
Il y a un jeune qui vend des shawarma.
There is a man outside this bar who sells shawarma in this space. We gave him that space, not even on rent. We gave him because he begged on us to come and sell. He was the one that stabbed the young man walking inside this bar. We wish to tell the family that we are so touched and remorseful. We call on the population to collaborate with us for justice to be prevailed.
Qu'on mette à la disposition de la justice.
As the neighborhood mourns the loss of David, there is a collective call for justice and renewed commitment to prevent such from happening in the nearest future.
And dozens of shops have been razed to ashes by that gulf. The wholesale Boppy market here in Douala, the origin of the weekend fire, has not been established, but it is suspected that it is connected to electricity. Secured more with our student journalist on internship, Christy Ayari.
A raging fire occurred at 5 p.m. Sunday when a majority of vendors had left. The affected shops were those housing plastic goods, which fueled the flames and intensified the damage. The cause of the incident remains unknown. The fire rescue unit was prompt to abate the blistering flames from spreading across the entire market as they allocated hundreds of meters away from the market. It was around 5 p.m. I saw heavy flames. I rushed and went and called the gatekeeper. He first thought I was joking before he saw the high flame. So we entered the market and saw the flame was serious. We called the fire brigade and they arrived at the scene on time. If not, several shops would have been put on ashes. The aftermath of this incident has left the victims in a state of profound distress. The exact cause of the damages has not been evaluated. Many are grumbling with the pain of their losses, pondering on how to restart.
A campaign to fight against illegal migration, human trafficking and smuggling has been launched at the Simaleng International Airport this Monday to caution youths living in this country at all costs. A sensitization campaign taken to one of the major exit points of the country is championed by the Ministry of Social Affairs and the International Organization for Migration. Hisencha reports.
Despite numerous words of caution on the dangers of illegal migration, young people continue taking the risk to follow different jungles to find themselves abroad for greener pastures. and with the head of state on February 10 calling on the youths not to leave the country at all costs, the government, through the Ministry of Social Affairs and the Ministry of Transport, is intensifying the fight by launching a strong campaign this March 18 at the Yaoundé-Simalène International Airport.
Yaoundé International Airport, Yaoundé-Simalène International Airport, and Douala International Airport. Most of those migrants pass through those different airports. So we think that's the occasion for us to facilitate the coordination of all different stakeholders. And we have to popularize the legislation, for the prevention and the repression of the actors.
An initiative co-championed by the International Organization for Migration, decrying the number of victims per year.
We have noticed that really brought us to decide to support its efforts, including through this campaign, but also offer a
Cameroonians urged to deploy collective efforts against such human trafficking.
A toll-free line, which is 1503, which permits the public to use that instrument and to call in order to denounce.
The sensitization messages boldly written here at the airport to ring a bell in the minds of those embarking on such doubtful destinations.
And the month of Ramadan for Muslims is not only a month where Muslims are called to intensify prayers and fasting, but abstaining from many frivolities. The feast of the 30 days of fasting and abstinence is it possible for pregnant women to withstand the month-long pertinence? Our reporter Saleh Sharifa has been talking to some imams and pregnant women. Her story.
Islam exempts fasting in Ramadan during sickness, pregnancy and breastfeeding. Knowing how important feeding is to pregnant and breastfeeding mothers, some pregnant women sometimes fast while others don't. However, those who did not fast are permitted to catch up after illnesses, after birth and after breastfeeding. When you are breastfeeding, you have to feed yourself and that of the baby. So it is a situation practically impossible for a woman to fast. After she is done breastfeeding, she can catch up after the month of Ramadan. Ramadan is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, during which fasting is obligatory for all healthy individuals. Although pregnant women are exempted from this Islamic law, the majority nevertheless choose to fast. If a mother is exclusively breastfeeding her child from 0 to 6 months, it is highly not recommended she fasts. This is because of the increased nutritional demand of the child.
We have a category of person that Allah mentions and explain their situation, like old people, pregnant women. This category of people, they have choice to postpone or to feed daily. Allah say, feed yatum ta'am muskin, they have to feed daily a poor. Almost 1 kilo, 1 kg and half, something like that. Daily she has to feed with the intention to fast.
Apart from the pregnant women, sick people and children under the age of adolescence cannot take part in the fast during the month of Ramadan.
And a campaign to portray the place of therapeutic dance for patients with neurological disorders held over the weekend in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, the initiative by the Institute of Applied Neuroscience and Re-Education with support from the Association of Patients with Parkinson's disease, depression, is to sensitize patients and the public at large on the latest health developments in the rehabilitation of such patients. More with our reporter, Beatrice Ngamu.
Dance therapy, a specific form of dance-based treatment with psychological movement that instigates self-awareness, expression and coordination, culminating in a mind-body treatment, combination of exercise, music and cognitive engagement. importance for patients with Parkinson's disease, a brain condition that causes problems with movement, mental health, sleeping, and other health issues, to commit in the treatment process.
Avec la danse-thérapie, ce qu'on fait,
the therapeutic dance helps improve the many symptoms of the disease, notably motor symptoms, but also psychological. The dance is also part of the social reinsertion of persons with Parkinson's disease. Here at the Cameroon Cultural Center, rhythms just flow with dancing steps and body movements. Classical, urban, Afrobeat, and Latino sounds, many like Jean-Pierre benefited from the opportunity. Occasion to present to the public our know-how in dancing, but equally encourage people to dance to prevent and treat neurodegenerative initiative by the promotion of Sports and Cultural Association with the support of the Institute of Applied Neuroscience and Re-Education.
The country will take you to Senegal, and as the country gears up for its imminent presidential elections, a vibrant tapestry of candidates has emerged, each offering a distinct narrative and vision for the nation's future, from seasoned political figures to fresh faces. The race boasts a spectrum of backgrounds and experience, promising a fiercely contested battle for the country's highest office, with a theme of renewal, experiences, and unexpected twists shaping the discourse. Senegal stands poised at a pivotal junction in its democratic journey. More with our reporter Gladys Ambo Diba.
In the run-up to Senegal's presidential election, a diverse array of candidates have emerged, vying for the nation's highest office. Amongst them is 39-year-old entrepreneur and political newcomer Anta Babakangom, who founded the Alternative for the Next Generation of Citizens political movement. Being the only female candidate, Gom's familiar ties to Sedima, a leading poultry production group, adds weight to her candidacy and brings new perspective to the race. Former Prime Minister Mohamed Boun Abdallah, age 64, stands as a front-runner with the BBY coalition, drawing on his experience leading the nation from 2014 to 2019. Another contender, former Minister Ali Ngoye Ndiaye, 59, showcases a wealth of governmental expertise, having served in various pivotal roles. A surprise entrant, 43-year-old tax inspector Bassirou Diomaye Faye enters the race following the disqualification of opposition figure Ousmane Sonko. Despite facing legal challenges, Faye remains a viable candidate backed by a coalition of Sonko's dissolved Pastef party and others. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Amadou Ba, 62, faces scrutiny over his lack of electoral experience compared to rivals, despite his extensive political background. Notably, former Dakar Mayor Halifa Ababakar Sal's past legal troubles cast a shadow over his candidacy following his conviction for embezzlement. In another twist, seasoned political figure Idrissa Seck, 64, enters the race, having weathered past controversies to emerge as a formidable contender. With such a diverse and dynamic lineup, Senegal braces for a fiercely contested presidential race.
And that's how we saw it in this edition. Thanks so much for watching. But coming up next is The Brief with Lil Peugeot. As for me, I will be back at the same time tomorrow. Good night.